Hello everyone, and it's been a while since I've been in the studio doing a video, been out and about a lot, and happy to be back, just doing a regular old stand-up video. We're going to have a few more during the summer, hopefully. That's the plan anyway. I want to thank our sponsors, and I really perhaps take a moment to just point out that these are people who believe in what we're doing here at Goff Rugby Report, and want to reach out to you and think that they can provide something valuable to you. It might be Panther Rugby Academy, which is talking about elite playing opportunities for young players in the South, but sort of further afield as well. Could be Next Phase Rugby, helping colleges recruit high school players, helping high school rugby players get recruited. Could be the USA Rugby Foundation, which provides growth opportunities for grassroots rugby, provides scholarships for players, all kinds of things for the game. So if you're someone who's looking to perhaps support the game through donations, something like that, US Rugby Foundation is what you want to do. And then Irish Rugby Tours is really just all about the global aspect of rugby, which is something that's important to me, I think is important to everybody, and really attractive to everyone who plays the sport. Go overseas, tour, have some fun. So I want to thank them. I want to thank everybody who donates money through Patreon or through our anonymous patron system. Go to the URL that's at the bottom of the screen to help us out. Thank you. Really touches me that you do that. So thanks a lot. So through this spring, and interestingly, mostly doing a lot of high school stuff, I've been fielding a lot of questions about college rugby. And I think that's going through, people going through the recruiting process, using Next Phase Rugby to connect with colleges and trying to say, hey, what are we looking at? And it's about the question I keep getting asked, which is there ever going to be something that's settled? And I think that I've dealt with this a little bit before, but I think that yes and no is the answer. Right now, people at NCR are adamant about a fall championship. And the thing is, that's a non-starter. It doesn't make any sense to a whole bunch of teams that are elsewhere. Not just because they have better weather in the winter. Some of it's because how late they start in the year. They start and then they go, what happened? We play 6 games and we're done. And that's an issue when you start to think about D1A as a high-performance collegiate competition. High performance, is that going too far? Well, I don't think so, because if you look at any sport that, any Olympic sport, maybe, let's take football out of it and all that stuff, but you look at Olympic sport, many countries' high-performance programs is the NCAA. If you're good at track and let's say you're from the Bahamas and you think you're a world-class sprinter, what are you going to do to develop yourself? You're going to go to Baylor. You're going to go to Florida State. I don't think it's unreasonable to talk about college rugby as a high-performance developer in certain levels. That's not to say we don't see high-performance players in lower levels. I think you can look at, example, the recent USA U20 team. Look, Bryce Muller, coming out of Babson, was a US age grade player before he went into Babson. Small college, but he's still getting good coaching. Is the competition the very best? No. Is he playing enough games? Maybe not. But he's driven and he's working hard to continue to play well at a high level. And he might be, let's say he might be an Eagle. Who knows? He's somebody they've looked at and said, you can still do that even though you're a small college player. So they don't cross people off just because they're not in D1A. But for the most part, what you're seeing is a lot of players in D1A who want to play at a high level, either in college and they just want to be really good at it. And even if they never play again after college, they want to have played at the highest possible level. You see that certainly in the military academies, right? I mean, then they're not going to be playing, for the most part, rugby right after college. They're going to go and become officers in the U.S. military. But they want to play at a high level because they want to do things at a high level. Or you see people who want to become professional rugby players, or maybe they just want to go to graduate school overseas, and maybe they want to go to Oxford and play in the varsity match. There are all kinds of motivations to play at a high level in college and call it a high level. All right? That's what D1A is. That's what some programs in NCR D1 are, but not all of them. So that's what I want to have a look at. And I want to talk about the fact that one of the impediments to NCR's model at the high level is the number of games teams play that lead to a championship. Most of them are playing, say, 6 league games. And then maybe you play playoffs. Now, I think you could argue, you look at, say, the California Conference. They played 8 league games. Well, how is that anymore? Well, it's 8 league games over a period that you can also play some very high-level non-league games as well. You can mix those in. It's much harder to do that in the fall because essentially you have September and October and a little bit of November, and that's it. And then the playoffs start, and they have 3 rounds of playoffs. So that's the issue I think some people have with the model NCR when you're talking about the high level. So what has happened there? What has happened is, looking ahead to this year, I think we've seen 1 or 2 teams shift D1A word. We've seen 1 or 2 teams shift NCR word. I thought, people have asked me, and I say this the same way, the market will decide. The market will decide who gives a better experience, who provides the product people want, whether it's a championship in December or a full 15 season all the way through into April and May. The market will decide. I think that's still true, but I think where I got it wrong was I thought that was going to happen fairly quickly, and it's not happened fairly quickly. And really, if you look at it, what happens there is a team thinks about it, then they play their season. Then they come out of it going, well, I'm not completely sure. And I know this because I've talked to some coaches where they're like hemming and hawing for like 3 years. They haven't decided to make a move one way or the other. And sometimes other coaches say, right, we're going to go here, and that's it. And you can look at, I know there's one team that's moving from D1A to NCR specifically because of where they think they fall competitively and how they think they can handle it as a club team playing just a fall season. They would be happy with that and then go to 7s after that. That makes sense, and I think they made that decision maybe over the course of a year, but really they sort of pulled the trigger like in a week. So I think the movements have been much slower, but we have seen a shift toward generally a more high performance level in D1A. Right now I count about, I think it's 39 D1A teams for next season. And it's possible we might see a few more. But again, it's tough, even for teams to sit there and go, St. Thomas in Florida or Western Washington or San Diego, should they move? Well, there are reasons why they don't move. San Diego is still a small university. They have a great team. How much depth do they have? Who can they play nearby? I think University of San Diego would be okay. Western Washington. Central Washington would love Western Washington to go D1A. But the week in, week out playing tough games and then the travel for Western Washington will be very, very difficult, whereas they've got a league, and that D1 AA league in the Northwest, by the way, has shifted entirely to CRAA. That's the D1A group that runs also a D1 AA level. We can talk about that in a minute. But that has moved entirely to CRAA, and we'll talk about what the reasons are there. So Western Washington's feeling pretty comfortable there. So they don't do it. St. Thomas, well, competitively, I think they're a school-supported team that would be in a good position, except Florida itself, as you can see if you look at a map, is stuck way out there in the ocean. It's just very difficult to travel. So they would have to have a travel budget. And it's not just about paying for it, it's also about the time. Is a travel budget for buses? Is a travel budget for airplanes? Even if you're taking airplanes, remember, you still got to study, you still got to do other things in your life. Do you want to spend an entire weekend on the road half the time? At least half the time. What would be great would be if you had 2 or 3 teams in Florida. And then you could say, and even like, just, okay. Let's sort of invent something here, okay? This is not going to happen. But sort of like in a more logical world, you could say UNC Chapel Hill, South Carolina, Life, Florida, St. Thomas. Right? You could make a conference out of that. That would be logical. That could happen. You could do that. Clemson, you could throw them in there. Right? That would make sense. We're just not there yet. Okay. So about 39. D1 NCR teams, it's closer to 30. And I would say that of those 30, you've got 8 to 10 teams that are quite strong compared to the D1A team. So you've got teams such as Kutztown, St. Bonaventure, what used to be Notre Dame College is now Walsh, Queens, Brown, Dartmouth. That's 6. I could push a couple up there and somebody would say, hey, why didn't you mention us? Well, sorry, didn't mention you. But that's about 6 that I would say those are D1A level teams. So those are teams that if they move into D1A, some would be in the playoffs. And in fact, I might toy with the idea of a fake bracket sometime later this summer. Somebody wanted me to do a merge ranking. I'm not going to do a merge ranking. There's a reason for that too. Mostly to do with the fact that Cal lost to Army, and that just skews everything because teams that beat Army in the fall, do you rank them ahead of Cal when you know that if they played Cal, they would lose? That's why I'm not doing that. And that's why they want me to do it, by the way. So, you do have some really strong NCR D1 at the very top. And I think that's the thing that when you're looking at teams and you're saying, my kid's going to go to this school and they're going to play at a high level. And they say, okay, well, what do you mean by high level? Are they working their way up? Are they like Fairfield and they're working their way up to that St. Bonaventure Brown kind of level? Great. Fantastic. Playing tough teams, all that stuff. But are they the best team in the country? No, we know who the best team in the country is, and that's St. Mary's, and there's nothing that's going to change that. No snotty phone call from NCR to me is going to change that. And for that matter, we know we can look at who are the top dogs in Rugby East, which is a hybrid conference. Oh, that's the other NCR one I missed, was Indiana. Sorry. I definitely wanted to put you in there. We know in the Rugby East, which is a hybrid conference, that, say, Notre Dame College was very good in the Rugby East, but they weren't first, they weren't even second, right? And the team that finished first in the Rugby East, Navy, fantastic season, did not win the championship, came second, right? They lost in the final in a very close game. So, yes, the level is really up there. All of that is to explain that there is sort of a little bit of meshing, but it's not perfect. It's not like if this is NCR D1 and this is D1A and you mesh them together that they just come together. No, it's more like this, with the very top of D1A still popping along up here.